Welcome back to the Matter of Facts podcast on the Prepper Broadcasting Network. We talk prepping, guns, and politics every week on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spotify. Go check out our content at mwfpodcast.com on Facebook or Instagram. You can support us via Patreon or by checking out our affiliate partners. I'm your host, Phil Rabalais. Andrew and Nick are on the other side of the mic, and here's your show. And welcome back to Matter of Facts podcast. I managed to get the thing done right before we went live that I was trying to get done.
Going live caught me looking at the phone, at the link.
That's all right.
I'm going to order 3.
Nick reminded me with like 17 seconds on the clock, like, dummy, you need to quit fooling around with what you're doing and like hit the go live button.
I just happened to look up in time. This is a professional organization.
Yes. We strive for professionalism. We fall woefully short 99% of the time.
That's fine.
But anyway, this is the Matter of Facts podcast. I'm Phil. This is Nick. Andrew's not here, but Andrew has been with the Matter of Facts since the show was 8 months old. And there's probably a segment of y'all out there that are not aware because of... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted by... Our faithful listeners, nearly late and gay.
Good.
Yeah. Okay. Enjoy it. But yeah, a lot of the listeners out there, Nick, are really not aware of like how old the show is, which we'll get into because that's our first mini topic after we do the admin work. The patrons keep the show funded and keep me from getting my head stoved in by my angry wife whenever I have to spend money on the podcast. So I'm very appreciative of that. And so is my forehead. If you would like to buy merch, there's shirts, there's koozies, and we're trying to bulldog our provider into doing hats.
That'd be sweet.
I don't know if it's going to fly, but we're going to bully them. But anyway.
Yeah, it is new school year, and I believe their wee ones are in school for the first time. So very busy time for that family, for sure.
They're in the same boat we are in this house where... little one just started. I mean, my little one just started high school. Their little one just started school.
Nice.
And mom is a teacher. So like that whole household is at DEFCON 2 right now.
that first week back. I know my wife right now is just getting into the whole, well, she does the before and after school program. So yeah, she's just getting into all the spazzy kids just coming out of seeing their friends all together for the first time since summer.
I'm telling you that all school teachers have a special place in heaven reserved for them with wine.
Mm-hmm. So much wine.
But yeah. And Cypress Survivalist, that's the little nonprofit that me and my little school teacher started last year with my sister and my brother-in-law. We're priming up for our camping trip in November. So if you're interested, there's a link in the show description. It goes to the website, and you can find information about that. Specifically, if you want to come out and camp with us, we're not making it publicly known exactly where we're going to be at the campground because I don't want just any random weirdos showing up without me knowing.
Just our random weirdos.
Yes, our random weirdos are okay. Randomly random weirdos are not. So if you are interested in coming, like the information's there, and you reach out to us, and I'll clue you in on where we're going to be. Let's see here. Raggle's been listening since around mid 2019. The show's quite a bit older than that, actually.
It's a bit older than that.
And shout out to Joe, his son, who I actually got to meet in person when they swung through town last year, I think. Just completed the Crucible, graduates in 2 weeks, so Joe, congratulate him for me.
Damn straight. It's a hell of a thing.
Yeah. The Marines was not my vocation. The Army was, but it's a lot. It's a lot the same.
Yep.
Marines everywhere are like gritting their teeth right now that I would allege that. But
to be fair, you got the better gear. They got the better reputation.
Yeah. I was Army Aviation, so... I mean, we got treated like the redhead stepchild of the entire military, right up to the point where you really wanted helicopters to bring you someplace. Then all of a sudden, we were your best friends.
Turns out, if you're waiting under fire, the helicopter crews are your favorite people.
Yeah. Before we get into this, I will say that a buddy of mine was 1st Marine Division. He was on one of the initial jumps that pushed through Baghdad during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He told me after the fact that one of his happiest moments was a moment where him and his squad were pinned down, not like in crazy danger, but definitely in a bad situation. And they got on the radio and started calling in for air support, wide open channel. Hey, we need help. Before the freaking Marines could get there, it just so happened that there was a couple of Apaches that were pulling through the area, and they literally diverted in and just mowed down the entire block.
I bet that made those pilots weak.
Oh, let me tell you something. When I can say that, like, there is a lot of intra-service rivalry. It's good. It's like cops and firefighters and paramedics to a degree. But I will be the first to say that, like, when another service member is up to their eyeballs in trouble, all that nonsense goes out the window, and it is like, okay, who do we have to tear out the frame to make this problem go away?
Absolutely.
From what I hear, JSOC refused to shit on the Air Force. Air cover is nice.
That is probably accurate.
Yep. I'm going to tell you that the guy that can vector in air support on your position is always your best friend right behind Doc. Like, it's so in order of precedence, it's Doc, it's your supply guy, and it's the guy that can call in air support. Those are the three dudes you're going to take very, very good care of.
Yeah, rightly
All
so.
Right. So, 6 minutes in, almost 7. Happy birthday to Matter of Facts. So, the Matter of Facts podcast actually started in 2016. So, this is
reaching back.
Yeah, literally a couple of days ago was the 9-year anniversary of the show. And the reason why a lot of people don't realize the show is that old, and I kick myself sometimes for this decision, but at this point, like, I threw the die, it is going to be what it is I made the decision years ago that in an effort to control the cost of the show, and also to kind of like hold a little back for the patrons, once the podcast got so many episodes out there in the wild, I was going to take down the oldest ones. So that way, what was out there publicly accessible was always going to be like the most recent 12 to 18, maybe 24 months worth of episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've expanded that as time has gone on, but it's always been, this is the most recent episodes. The older stuff is kept behind the paywall for the patrons, which I need to make a note that I need to dole out some more.
That is important.
I'm not really good about updating that, but when I do remember, I usually drop like 5 or 6. So
I try to easily 5 or 6. It blows my email up.
I mean, sorry, not sorry.
No, I always listen to them because usually it's good stuff back then. Sometimes the audio quality is shockingly good. I'm wondering if it was just a day that the electrons went well for you.
So it is worth pointing out that, like, over the history of this show, like, to get to the point we're at today where we're actually like streaming live with video,
right?
This is very highbrow, high-minded, really technical stuff compared to the early days. Like, the very first episodes of this podcast were recorded on an iPhone using the little earbuds that, like you the old 3.5mm headphone jack that isn't even on phones anymore. But it was a set of Apple headphones with the little microphone that had the buttons built into it.
Yeah, surprisingly good microphone for what it was.
Surprisingly very good microphone for what it was. I recorded, I couldn't even tell you, I mean, probably several dozen episodes I did just like that. And it was just me. I hadn't met Andrew yet, you hadn't even thought about meeting you yet.
Nope.
And the first handful of episodes, like, to me, for the patrons, I really want to go back and listen to episodes like 1 through, I don't know, 15 or 20. I don't care to listen to them anymore. Like, I hear all of my imperfections. I hear myself stumbling. I hear some of the things I professed at the time that I've since changed or evolved my thinking on. And I'm very critical of myself in those moments. But
fair enough.
To be fair, I literally woke up one day and said, today's the day I'm going to learn how to podcast, and Googled it.
Worked out well so far.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was no StreamYard. There was no, like, most of the things we use today for podcasting hadn't even been thought of yet. I mean, it was the Wild West. It was the Wild West. Even YouTube was the Wild West back then. We're talking about 10 years before, we're talking about 8 to 10 years before big money came in and sponsors and advertisers. Like the earliest gun tubers, even though I don't consider us to be a gun tube show, we're kind of like next door to them in some ways. But like
we like guns.
Yeah, but the earliest gun tuber shows, they were in their infancy. It was the Wild West, and there was no formula for how to do this, and there was certainly no money to be made in it.
Oh God, no! Go back and look at Hickok 45's first videos. He had 3 targets on like a 25-yard pistol range, and then two or three rifle targets further out.
Yeah, even though I haven't watched his content forever because he annoys me now. But Iraq veteran 8888. Some of his really old stuff.
Yeah, his early stuff was really educational, especially when he got into like the esoterica weapons that would come through the shop. Fantastic.
Yeah, I really enjoyed when he had Barry on the show and like some of his burn down videos where he would just torture test a weapon to destruction.
Fantastic.
The whole series on can you blow up a high point.
Yeah,
that is still worth watching. Just the
high sheer points, surprisingly more reliable than SIG.
I mean, look, I might never own one, but I constantly feel the urge to buy one because of the absolutely stupid amount of abuse that freaking gun put up with.
High Point has some interesting designs that I have considered. I'll put that out there. They have some interesting designs I've considered just for the sheer novelty of them and the fact that they're one of the only American gun companies that's really trying to innovate. They might not always hit, but at least they're attempting it.
Yeah. But like I said, in those early days of Matter of Facts 9 years ago, I was recording by myself, which is tricky as shit. You don't have anybody to bounce stuff off of. There is no organic conversation. You can't sit down and just spitball something out with a co-host. Like I had to literally, I had to be super professional and write the stuff down and make outlines. And like the prep work for a 30 to 40 minute show was 30 to 40 minutes. And then
you have to have almost a script.
And then the editing afterwards was another 30 to 40 to 50 minutes. So my time investment was through the roof. And all I ever heard was how bad it was. And over time, it got better and easier. And then when Andrew came on the show, I feel like once I finally had that host co-host energy going, I feel like that's where the show really, really came into its own, because that's when, even though we were fighting with every bit of technological nonsense, as far as like, two co-hosts at opposite ends of the country trying to talk to each other and record,
one living out in the boonies.
Audio. Yeah, because at the time, Andrew didn't live like Andrew lives right on the. I mean, I don't know if he's in city limits or right on the edge.
He's in city limits now. Yeah,
yeah, and he's got pretty good, respectable high-speed internet nowadays.
Better than mine.
Yeah, but back in the day, oh my God, it was abominable. Like it was you were throwing dice to see if he was going to talk to me or talk to aliens. You never knew. But it was, like we struggled through it and we pushed through it and we tried so many different ways of trying to do this remote podcasting. Because I remember Andrew and I met, by the way, through the Wasted Ammo podcast.
Nice.
And like the biggest benefit those guys have is that they were co-located. And that solves that's the way most podcasts were. Like you think about like most of your podcasts that are really popular today, they co-locate. If they have guests, the guests come into the studio.
Right.
Obviously, I don't have the travel budget to bring guests into my studio. So everything gets done electronically, remotely, but that wasn't a thing back then.
No, it really wasn't. The latency was a serious problem.
Yeah. So literally the way Andrew and I settled on this for the longest time was that we were using, each one of us was using actually before the hardware podcast quarters, we were using software. So we were using, you know what? I've got it sitting here on my desktop still, I bet. If not, it might be buried someplace. Nope, I think I might have hit it someplace. But anyway, I have I had a piece of software that would basically capture my mic audio, and then it would allow me to port it into Audacity. So I would hot record into Audacity. Andrew do the same thing. he would upload his file to Google Drive, and then I would download it on my end, and then magic the two back together and time align them. And we went like that for quite a while until eventually we got hardware recorders. Mm. Mostly because, once or twice one of our computers would lock up, the internet would die, the power would go out, and the whole show would just be fragged.
Yeah, that's hard to recover from.
Yeah, and and then we moved over to a service kind of like this, but audio only, called Zencastr, and that was okay. It was better, but the cloud-based recording was not super reliable. So like there was one time in particular where the cloud-based recording failed, which happened maybe like one time out of 10. So we were still running our hardware recorders. And the same time that happened, he had forgotten to turn on his hardware recorder. So the primary audio died, his backup audio didn't record, and we lost a whole episode.
That's frustrating.
We literally, we both had another hour to kill, so we went ahead and just sat down and fired it back up, recorded another episode. I don't think it came out near as good as the first one did because just the vibe was gone, and we were just so frustrated. But
yeah, that's hard to work through, especially because, all right, now you're trying to remember what you went through with the conversation. You're trying to recreate it, and then it feels kind of forced. I've been really fortunate that you and I have been quite fortunate with the technical difficulties. Other than my internet occasionally shitting the bed, not bad.
Yeah, well, and moving from Zencastr, we came to StreamYard. And StreamYard, I feel like, has been the thing that really made this show cook, because we're live streaming. We've got people that are commenting to us through YouTube live. The cloud-based recording is very, very reliable. I still run my hardware recorder, and I'm catching my audio and yours just as a backup.
Yeah.
But it has not really proven necessary. I mean, this is much, much better in a lot of ways.
I mean, the interface is extremely user-friendly. I mean, I walked onto the show with no experience of how it would work, and I can probably make the show work. I've not tried to create a broadcast, but one of these days I'll mess around with it.
I could walk you through it, and you pick it up in 30 seconds. It's easy.
And I imagine YouTube University could sort me out if I couldn't.
StreamYard does have a very substantial user base. The whole reason that we went over to this mostly was because of like Sean Heron and the Firearms Radio Network. All those shows use this. So I was already familiar with it as a guest.
Sure, yeah. That would make it very easy to get into.
Yeah. But that's kind of like the abridged history of the Matter of Facts podcast. 9 years, 440-something episodes down the pipe. I don't remember how many patron-only episodes we've recorded. I know that you and I need to record one or two here.
We do. Let me know when, man. I'll make time.
Yeah. But, to me, the joy of podcasting always was, and I always joke with, I don't joke with people. I've had people over the years ask me, like, hey, how do I get into podcasting? And I'll walk them through the broad strokes of, like, these are different ways you could do it on a budget, to get your feet wet.
You could do it almost purely software.
Yeah. And then they ask me, okay, well, how do I make it pay for itself? And I'm like, aha.
There's your problem
That's
right there.
The tricky part. Yeah. So the thing I point out to people is that, like, when I started podcasting, I paid all the bills out of my own pocket for 2.5 years. Mm-hmm. And in about 2.5 years, there was enough money flowing in semi-regularly enough from the Amazon affiliate links. There was enough patron money coming in. The show started paying its own bills finally.
Yep.
And since then, the show has been patron funded, with the exception of once or twice we've had sponsors, which I don't know. I've had companies reach out to us since our last sponsor to try to get into a sponsorship deal with us, and I'm very gun shy about taking on a sponsor. I would happily, but it would have to be like the right company, the right vibe. It'd have to be something that I put my name on.
It would have to be a quality product.
Yeah.
I would say.
It would have to be something that I would spend my own money on if it wasn't being given to me or I wasn't being paid to purchase it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know there was a sponsor that came on here. I'm not going to name names because that's inappropriate. But that you shared with me when I was first coming on to here that was approaching us. And when we looked into it, it was a subpar quality drop shipper was basically what it was.
Yeah, and that sponsor
it's not
went on
acceptable to me.
And that sponsor went on to sponsor, I can't even count how many other small podcasts, small YouTube
Quite
channels.
A few. And I'm sure they made a bunch of money doing it.
You know, based on the fact that like none of those deals stuck around for very long, I don't think they did make a lot of money on it. But
well,
maybe they made a couple of bucks. I hope it did something good for them. Like the last time we had a sponsor, the show actually had a pretty substantial surplus at the end of the year, and I blew that out like, you know, did a lot of giveaways for listeners, for the patrons, because my point of view always was like I didn't start the show to make money. There's $0 of this that enriches my life or like pays bills. This is, if we have a surplus, we spend it on a project or we spend it on something that makes the two of us, the three of us, when Andrew's around, happy.
Right.
And if there's not a surplus, then we just pay the bills and keep doing it for fun. Like that's the way you win at podcasting to me.
I think so. Personally, I just really enjoy coming on here and having a conversation every week, having a conversation with the people in the chat, getting to talk about interesting things. Gives me something to do on my Thursday night other than sit on the couch and just sort of veg out or play video games, which I think is good for you intellectually to do different things throughout the week. So it's been an enjoyable pastime. I mean, I've definitely got more expensive hobbies. This one doesn't cost me anything.
You say that until a PVS 14 follows you home, and then you will realize just how expensive this hobby really can get.
To be fair, those were always potentially following me home long before I found this podcast. I grew up playing COD with night vision.
Back when that was just a green filter over a over the video.
100%.
I have to admit, it is still the weirdest experience on earth when you turn on night vision and you don't hear the noise.
It's supposed to make a noise. That's disappointing.
I hear the noise in my head.
I do too. I know the exact sound effect you're thinking of. We need to find it and throw it on the soundboard.
We should. But anyway, that's happy birthday to the Matter of Facts podcast. The show has lasted like 8 3/4 years longer than I ever thought it would. And I keep telling everybody, like, it's fun. And when it stops being fun, then I'll probably stop doing it.
Or we'll talk about something else.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. There's always something to talk about.
Jeff Jag, you don't do the sound effect. Not out loud.
You should do the sound effect.
I don't do it out loud, but I hear it in my head.
Good.
Definitely.
Raggle, you are 100% right. It's COD Modern Warfare 1. That's exactly the sound I was thinking of.
All right. So we talked about what we were going to talk about this show, and I didn't feel like it was going to be a whole hour. So the fact that the podcast birthday just happened to drop this week, and I didn't even realize it until I saw it on my calendar. I was like, oh, I totally forgot about that happening in August.
We should mention that.
We should mention that. But I also had this little experience last week. So you and I, and I'm sure most of the people listening right now, have been, quote unquote, the gun guy in their group of like friends, coworkers, whatever, a time or two. And like I was recounting to you, like, in certain settings, this does not catch me off guard at all. Like at work, I have a couple of people who know me better than most do, because most people, I prefer to just be a fly on the wall and not be known. But the ones that know me a little better than that know that, like, I know about firearms. So I have people that have asked me over the years, like, for advice on first firearm, where to find training, like different things. And I'm happy to give that information out, but I'm not surprised in that setting. In certain aspects of like social groups, I'm really not surprised when I'm like the crazy gun guy. And then there's moments in time where I am truly shocked that I'm the guy people look at and be like, you look like you know what you're doing. And I'm like, me?
Yeah.
But I had this experience last weekend. So in the name of full disclosure, like my younger brother is, he got gifted his first AR-15 for his wedding. And
nice.
He knew nothing about it. I knew my dad and I knew
Wait, did
nothing
you say
about it.
for his wedding?
Yes.
All right, if my wife is watching this, I totally could have put a USP 45 on our wedding registry. Clearly, people get guns for their wedding. That's all I'm saying.
But
That's all I'm saying. All
This
right.
is in Mississippi. That might
And
influence things slightly.
nonsense.
And it
This
wasn't on
clearly
his
is the thing people do.
and it wasn't on his registry. He literally he bumped into somebody he knew while out around the town, and the guy was like, "Hey, didn't you just get married?" Then follow me out to the parking lot. I brought him out to the parking lot, opened the trunk of his car, and just reached in and handed him an AR-15 and said,
I
"Happy,
love free trunk guns. That is the
yes."
best feeling ever.
Well, none of us knew anything about this firearm other than the fact that it was that weird time period where ARs were being built with like the M16, the front sight towers, but flat top receivers.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Yep. I
So,
remember exactly the builds.
so you and that's all I knew about it. Well, my brother gave it to my dad and said, "Hey, can you put a rear sight on this? Check it out." Like
Yeah.
I know nothing. I don't even know if it's built right or not, and I didn't know
Sure.
anything about it. So I went over to my dad's house and started looking into it. It's a Palmetto State Armory. Best I can tell, it's a whole PSA gun, which is not a good thing
Sure.
or a bad thing. It's a mid-tier
No,
AR at best.
they're a very acceptable rifle, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
So it's, like 16-inch barrel. The front handguard is literally like an M4. It's like the M4, the clamshell plastic.
I still have one of those sitting on my shelf because I can't find anybody that wants it, even to pay to ship it to them.
I mean, if it was so in name full disclosure, I am getting nostalgic as I get on the other side of 40, and I kind of want to build like an M16A2, one end to the other.
Sure.
Not an M4 because I wasn't issued an M4. I want an M16. But anyway,
that's fair.
But it's that, and then flat top receiver, and then it has a carbine buffer tube, and I don't know what buttstock is on it, but it's god awful. It's like the little B, almost like the Car 15 style collapsible stock. Yeah, I don't not a fan.
Well, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable stock, and it was probably a very cheap stock at the time because they made a million of the damn things. But there are better stocks for not like larger than pocket change money now. I mean, the Magpul stocks are just phenomenally good for the price of the things.
Yeah, but that's kind of the highs and lows of the gun. I mean, we took it apart. I inspected it one end to the other. I stripped down the bolt carrier group. Everything looks fine. Like fine. Nothing's great, nothing's high speed, nothing's cute. It's all fine. It looked like it was going to work just fine.
Mm-hmm.
So I function checked it. Everything was going fine. We took it out to the range last weekend, and the literal first freaking round out of the first mother effing magazine, the bullet does not tilt up coming out of the magazine. It stays pointed straight forward. It rams into the feed ramp. It shoves the bullet so hard that it actually pushed it past the rim, and then the bullet promptly spat powder all into the friggin' action.
Oh, that's a mess.
So, yeah, the star chamber, there's powder inside the barrel and the rifling. There's powder in the fire control group. The gun has puked.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other
it's a hell of a malfunction.
Yeah. Well, then the other shoe drops. In my exuberance to have everything I needed to, prepare this firearm for firing, I brought hammers and I brought punches and I brought screwdrivers, thankfully, because I'm not naming names, but someone who had the gun in their custody before me mounted the rear sight backwards, and I had to switch it around to point the correct direction. But yeah, neither here nor there. But anyway, so all that, but I didn't bring a cleaning kit.
Oops.
Whoops. So there I am with the smallest punch I have, trying to use like a pick to try to juice as much of the powder as possible. Cannot get around a chamber like that. The round is sticking 1.5 inches out of the chamber because it's just bound up on all that friggin' powder, all the junk that's in there. And Yes, Raggle Frag was having a good laugh at this. I know
it's funny because it's not you.
It's hilarious in hindsight, but at the moment, I could have thrown that son of a bitching rifle over the berm. I was so mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, I asked my dad, I'm like, do you have like paper towel, a receipt, anything made of paper in your in your car? And he went and got a Wendy's napkin, and I like twisted it as hard as I could, like into almost like a straw, and then shoved it up in there and twirled it around as much as I could to just try to get as much of the powder out as possible.
Yeah, get the fines out.
Yeah, and then put a couple of spritzes of ballistol in the bolt in the chamber, just lube it all up.
Yep.
And then I literally like just
shoot it clean.
Well, before I got there, I dropped the bolt as hard as I like as many times, like drop the bolt, pull the round out, drop the bolt, mortar the round out, and did that over and over and over until finally I got the bolt to shut. Pulled the trigger, and I got a click, no bang. Mortar the gun open again. There's not even a mark on the primer. So I open the gun up again, look at the fire control group, make sure that I have the legs of the spring up on top of the pin instead of down underneath. Those of you who built ARs, y'all know what I'm talking about. We've all done it at least once.
Yes, I did.
We've all done it at least once. Any one of you lying bastards out there that says you haven't screwed up a friggin' AR trigger spring once is lying, or you never.
Or they used Timney drop-ins.
Or they used Timney drop-ins. I will allow that. You might have used a Timney drop-in. Otherwise, you're a liar. And not just a liar, but a damned liar. And by the way, if any of you ever found the takedown spring detent after you assembled your first one and sprung that thing out, let me know, because mine is still hiding in the garage. I never found it.
Mine is in the carpet of our first house. Somewhere. I don't know, man.
Everybody that has ever built an AR has had all these experiences. That's how you know you're part of a community.
When I bought all the parts from my local gun dealer to build the first AR I was going to build, he handed me a bag of extra springs and detents. He said, "This is for you. It costs you nothing. You will need at least 2 of these."
Was he right?
Bring back what you don't use. Oh yeah, I lost 2 of them. I shot 2 of them. Who knows where in my house?
I've assembled 4 stripped lowers. I've only lost 1.
That's fortunate.
Yeah, the very first one, and then after that, I learned. I also built a tool to install those, which is not anything like high tech or cool, but damn it works really well. But anyway, so I realized, I'm like, okay, well, apparently the bolt was close enough in the battery to like let the fire, let the hammer swing, but I'm not getting a good swing. It's not hitting the firing pin yet. So go right back to where I was before. Mortar the round out, drop it in, mortar it out, drop it in. Finally, I get this thing to go bang. From the first time I went bang, it did not skip a beat after that.
Good. Probably got everything cleaned out.
Yeah, finally got everything cleaned out. I mean, like the first round that actually went bang, blew all the rest of the powder and everything out of the chamber, and it was fine after that.
Yeah.
But after that, I want to say we had the thing zeroed, inside of half a magazine.
Good.
Anyway, so after all, now bear in mind, I must look like a monkey screwing a football. I've got this AR like gutted, shotgunned in half, bolt carrier group out. I'm got tools and everything on the bench. I've had 2 range officers stop by because like I'm being cognizant of like keep the ammo away from the gun when I have it open, barrel always down, down range. There were no safety violations. They were happy. They understood I was having a problem. I was trying to be safe and I was trying to rectify. But I had 2 range officers stop by to be like, "Whoa, what's the problem? Like, you're having a hell of a time with this stupid rifle." In the process of all this, I finally get the stupid thing working. The gentleman next to me on the range gets my attention when I like put the gun down, stepped back from it. I'm taking a break from shooting. Motions me over and says, "I hate to trouble you, but you look like you know what you're doing. Could you give me a hand?" And that was one of those moments where I truly was surprised, and I probably shouldn't be because I understand how many people own firearms that don't know like the finer points of them. But I was surprised in that moment because I have this huge intellectual blind spot where I'm like, well, if you own guns, you should know a lot about them. Like
not all of us get deep dive down to rabbit holes like you, Phil.
I know that intellect. I know that rationally.
Right? But it doesn't hit you in the moment when you're standing there, does it?
No, it really doesn't. I was quite surprised. I mean, this gentleman was like in his probably late 50s, maybe pushing early 60s at the high, on the high end. Um, had an AR built very similar to the one that my brother had. Had a Burris prism scope on it.
Oh, okay.
And did not really. I mean, like, you know, he understood that like there's knobs on the silly thing, but he really didn't. He
didn't
did not
understand zeroing an optic.
Yeah, I didn't really understand like the procedure and everything. Now, in his defense, I had to get a flashlight out so that I could see the markings on the knob to know which way went which.
That does not help.
And then once I explained it to him, he was like, "Oh, that's really simple." And I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, you know, I don't know how many clicks equates to what distance on the target you have set up, but like, you know, I would say if you're really far away from the target, throw 4 clicks into it in whichever direction you need to go, and then adjust from there. And when you get closer, drop it down to 2 clicks.
Yeah. And then closer still, drop it down to 1.
Within a magazine, he was zeroed.
Good.
But I had that experience of being the gun guy at a gun range. Hang on one second. I have to take
go for a call.
Yes, love.
Well, that's important. Get you in trouble
for missing a call
like that.
Okay, love you.
As always on this podcast, family does come first.
She's going to be so god-awful embarrassed, and that's okay.
That's all right. These things happen, man.
I mean, for those of you who have, you know, spouses and children, like when my wife calls in the middle of a show, I just naturally assume something must be wrong. But in this case, it was no, I just wanted you to know I was on my way home.
Well, that's good.
But that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better that than the alternative.
Man, the first time I got pegged as the knowing stuff gun guy, coworker of mine showed up with and I mean duffel bag of antique rifles to work.
My heart hurts a little bit that you said a duffel bag, because that means just all thrown in a duffel bag.
That is the correct image. It was a very large duffel bag, and there was some stuff padding them a little bit, but not nearly enough. But the guy's grandfather had passed away, and he had quite a considerable antique firearm collection. And the guy said, "I don't have a FOID card. I don't know what to do with these. What do we need to do to transfer them into your name? Because I don't want them. And it's that, or I turn them into a police drop off." And I said, "Well, I said, if you want paperwork, we can go down to an FFL dealer, and you're going to have to pay $40 a piece for them. But at the time in my state, you could do a online transfer where you just put in my FOID card number and you get a quick check, and then I could take possession of them with a quick bill of sale we typed up on the work computer." He said, "You're the only guy I know that shoots or does anything with guns. Are these even real guns?" And the first one I picked up was a Martini Henry.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I'm like, fuck the hell, yes, this is a real gun, first off. Second off, are you sure you don't want these? Because some of these are, like, they're not really money valuable, but you're a few $100 to $1,000 gun.
You know, Eddie is going to be irrationally angry at you now, right?
Oh, I don't have these. My younger brother is a big fan of antique firearms. So far, I have acquired for him a 1810 7-line Tula Arms muzzle loading flintlock pistol imported for the War of 1812, papered. I've found him that Martini Henry, Springfield in 4570 Government. I can't remember what a couple of the other ones were, but man, there was a ton of them. And I filled his safe instead of mine because they were too tall to go in my safe. The couple of the damn things even came with the 2-foot bayonets on them. It was pretty cool. But since then, a lot of my other coworkers and a few people that I only know tangentially that are like customers of the shop have shown up every now and then with like, Raggle, I do need to get out of Illinois. You are correct.
Raggle, I literally I beat him up at least once a month about how
He
he
does.
needs to move. Like
North or south, either way.
Louisiana might be a little much. Arkansas is nice.
Well, you'd have to convince the wife because
Yeah.
we all have a ton of family here, and man, my grandparents are getting up in age. Her grandparents are getting up in age. You know, it's not always that simple. Unfortunately, we do want to be by family.
Then what you need is like 5 acres in a friendly state with an off-grid cabin.
Yes. I've been looking at properties and they are phenomenally expensive.
Yes.
Yes, they are. But, you know, every once in a while, at being known as the gun guy, Phil, I'm sure you've experienced this. Somebody shows up with a cardboard box full of gunpowder, primers, bullets.
So this has happened.
Unknown condition.
This has happened to me twice. Once was when the neighbor's parents were cleaning out, like, you know, the old family home, and in one of the closets they just found an old Chipmunk 22 long rifle. Just like,
oh, cool.
Yeah, so like for anybody that's not aware, it's like a Cricket but with a wood stock, and it's, you know, it's a little bit of a nicer gun, but virtually the same design.
They're fantastic youth 22s.
Yeah, well, they found this thing. The bolt was frozen shut just from corrosion. And it'd been sitting in a closet. I mean, no one can even remember shooting the thing for at least 15 years. So it's just been sitting in a closet collecting dust and, you know, slowly corroding itself shut. So he brought it over to me, not even like, hey, do you want to buy this or anything? But he was just like, hey, how do we legally destroy a firearm? Because it has a serial number. I look, and he handed it to me, and I was like, what do you mean destroy it? Like, I can probably get this thing working again. And he was like, if you can get it working, you can have it. And I was like,
sold.
Challenge accepted. So he sat in the front yard and BS with my wife for about 10 minutes. I walked back outside. I've got the whole thing. I took it out the stock, cleaned it up, ballastalled the hell out of it, got the bolt freed up. That took a hammer blow, by the way.
They will do that.
Put a bunch of patches through the board to clean out like all the rust and the corrosion and the crap out of the friggin' the rifling, put a couple of brass jags through it. I got the thing cleaned up pretty nice. It didn't have any real deep pitting. It was just a lot of surface rust, and the bolt was froze shut from it. And I got the thing running and walked back out front. 10 minutes later, I got this whole gun cleaned up, working. It doesn't look like brand new, but it looks like a
functional,
substantially better cared for old gun. And I'm like, you sure you don't want something for it? And he's like, what did you do? And I'm like, I cleaned it.
Yes.
I cleaned and oiled it. Yeah. But that ended up being the rifle that I taught my daughter to shoot with. And it's still sitting in the safe. Still, it's actually shockingly reliable and accurate. And the other time was when I had a guy that I know who worked as a locksmith. He had to drill open a gun safe for a widow. And in the process of doing that, came upon like the guy was a reloader. So had a press, he had dies, he had tons of brass and primers and bullets and tons of powder. And she couldn't give the stuff away. Like the local junkyards wouldn't take it because it's all combustibles. Yeah. And the parish only accepts like combustibles and stuff like that, like hazmat, like once or twice a year. And she wanted the stuff out of the house. She was worried that it was going to blow up.
Well, so for the uninitiated, you could be concerned about that.
So my friend, while he was over there, she was talking to him. She said, if you know somebody that wants this stuff, they can have it. So he called me because I was the only guy that reloaded that he knew. And I still have that picture somewhere. I'll have to hunt it down for you. But literally, I filled the entire back of my hatchback with gunpowder.
That's a lot of gunpowder.
I filled my back seat of this hatchback with boxes of bullets. Ooh. And then I had a 40 millimeter grenade ammo can filled to the top with primers, belted into the passenger seat next to me. And I carefully drove home.
So. That'd be a heavy load for that little car, too.
Yeah, and then I called my dad as I was leaving the neighborhood, and I was like, hey, if you hear a really loud boom coming from east of where you are, that's me.
So a friend of mine passed away many years ago. Very much older gentleman. I met him through my grandparents, and when he passed away, big time reloader as well. He'd been reloading for many, many years. And when he passed away, his wife knew I was a gun guy. I had gone shooting with her husband a lot. She asked me to help go through his gun collection and go through his ammo collection and all that. When I showed up to help her, she had a 12-person dining room table stacked 3 feet deep with ammunition.
Nice.
That she had found in the house. I'm like, what are we doing with all this? And she said, well, these are all the calibers that I don't have guns for, that were Bob's guns that I don't want. Do you want it? If anyone's wondering, that's why I still have 35,000 rounds of 22 ammunition that I'm trying to shoot through. I think in that purchase, I ended up with like 80,000 rounds of 22 LR and 5,000 rounds of 22 shorts for some reason.
Don't even announce what you paid for it, because it's going to make people hate you.
Oh, it will make people very angry. I tried to give her more money, and she just said, no, this is what I want for it. This is what you're paying. Like, okay, that's fine. But, I spent a few months, well, most of a year, helping her go through and cataloging her full gun collection, finding blue book values on these things, calling up auction houses for some of it. Because, I mean, hell, one of the pairs of pistols that we had to find a buyer for was a pair of in the original boxes Colt Peacemakers, consecutive serial numbers. Like, she said, well, do you want them? Make me an offer. And I said, I cannot make you an offer that's not insulting. My net worth is less than the value of these two pistols. So, no, I will not be making you an offer. And I had to pass up on a matched pair of Colt Peacemakers, all original. Oh, God.
I had a similar experience with the widow that I got all the reloading supplies from, because like I offered to pay for it. Like, I told her, I'm like, she had
what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, I told her, I'm like, I mean, I would like a slight discount because I'm buying a lot of this stuff all at once. But like, are you sure you don't want something for it?
Right.
And she literally looked at me and she said, are you going to resell this stuff or you're going to use it? And I told her, like, no, ma'am. I'm like, I
will shoot all of this ammunition.
Well, I told her, I'm like, the powders that are like these powders in this pile, I already know I have load data for. I can shoot that stuff tomorrow. These powders I can't fool with, but my dad does. Like, she sent me away with like 2.5 8-pound jugs of Winchester, was it 110?
Nice.
The quintessential 44 Magnum powder. My dad has all that, because at the time I didn't have my 357, and Dad loaded a lot of 44 Magnum. So like I was like, that's all for my dad. Like,
I think I still have 10 pounds of Winchester 231. I got
231. It's H110 Win 231.
Yeah.
But
Winchester 231, great powder.
Yeah. But I told her, I'm like, I'm not selling any of this stuff. I'm like, I'm going to give away what I can't use, and I'm going to use most of it. And she said, my husband would be tickled pink if somebody was going to use this. So no, you can't pay me for it. But like, that's just, I don't know. Like, that's the weird part about being like the quote unquote gun guy, is like,
sometimes that stuff shows up.
Yeah. And I find that you find yourself, I don't want to oversell it like it's a fraternity or something, but like you find yourself in these positions where like other people are like, oh, you're into guns too. And you have that natural common ground friggin' traipse upon.
You can find something to talk about gun stuff with everybody. Well, at least the people that are in the shooting sports, because there's always some matter of esoterica about their specific niche gun thing that you're going to find fascinating.
And as much as I would love to say, like, I know that within the gun community, like, I know there's gatekeeping, I know there's elitism, I know that there's assholery. Like, I get that. All that's there and all that's very fair. But I will say that my experience has been that I've met more people more willing to share information than I've found the opposite.
The only places I have run into gatekeeping and snobbery have been typically I'm going to say poor quality instructor. A very poor quality type of fuddish instructor that's carrying a 1911 in a leather holster outside the waistband during class.
That's amazingly specific, Nick.
I'm thinking of two instructors in particular at one of my local ranges that they are the only two people I have met in person that were a problem for snobbery and gatekeeping.
Can we
They
also
hate Wonder Nines. They hate plastic. They hate ARs.
Can we also throw in the person with the drop leg holster that the pistol rides like down by their knee?
Yeah, that's probably a problem too. But the only other place I found with that is online. Honestly, where everyone's anonymous. No, it's not, and that's one of the reasons. That's why I dismiss it out of hand like that. It's because it's not real life. These people are not going to act like that in person. They're just frankly not. They have the room to act like an asshole, so they get their little jollies off on that. Fine, well enough, whatever. But anytime I've been to a gun range, shooting class, anything like that, gun swap meets, stuff like that, meeting up with a guy to buy a gun or buy some ammo off him, they're all pretty cool people that just want to show off their cool toys and try to see yours and maybe shoot yours. I mean, hell, I've shot more guns for swapping mag for mag with a guy than I have guns I've bought or sold or rented.
So this is the part that I'm going to struggle at mightily because, like,
I've just done someone this.
Okay, but hear me out. We start off by saying I have this enormous intellectual blind spot, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2025, on the spectrum, Phil just naturally assumes that, if a person wanted information, they would go to, like, YouTube, Google Foo, read the manual, do all those things that Phil would do if Phil wanted information about firearms. Like, when I got my first night vision device, the literal first thing I did was look up the Army fucking field manual for the PVS 14. Because why wouldn't I? The Army, the Department of Defense, paid money to have this book written that tells you all about the stupid thing.
And probably like a wildly exorbitant amount of money.
The FM?
Yeah, I'm sure it cost millions.
Oh
no, I'm sure to the federal government it cost millions.
Cost the DoD millions. Cost me a trip through internet land.
Exactly.
Highly recommend. But, like, I that's the way my mind works. It's like it's not like I know, like, oh, there's just one website you go to for all the internet knowledge about this thing. It's like, no, I just go find it, and I just my intellectual blind spot is that I have that personality where I will spend hours researching something until I feel like I know it well enough.
Yeah.
Totally dismissing the fact that the average person has neither the attention span, the patience, or the unrestrained autism to go through that exercise.
True.
So, resources for newbies in 2025, when the internet is freaking filled to the brim with information and
sometimes wrong information.
Like, I think that is almost a bigger problem than a lack of information at this point. It's how do you tell the new guy how to discern good information from bullcrap? Because in the era of Google AI, you can get some phenomenally bad answers to Google searches now.
Yes, you can.
And I feel like that is almost a bigger problem today. Like, if we've had this conversation before over the last 9 years, probably 3 or 4 times. But in years past, it was, where do you find good information? Now it's, where do you find not stupid Skynet information?
So my first thing that I always tell a new shooter to do before you do anything with the gun,
read the manual.
Read the fuck mothering manual. Because seriously, a lot of your questions will be answered by the manual. I get it. It's boring, it's dry, it's technical reading. I understand. The manual of arms will be in the manual.
I will say that you could skip basically the entire warning section, because if you need to be told to take the bullets out of the gun while cleaning it, or don't point the barrel at yourself.
But for a new shooter, You cannot be told that enough times. I think. I just
Firearm safety rules, you're right.
firearm safety rules, and they're
Can I
all
say
in that manual.
can I
Every
say
gun you buy
Darwin
comes with the
Award
5
just
rules.
once though to get it out of my
Sure.
system? Okay.
Go for it.
It's out of my system.
But I do believe you should. You should read any equipment you buy. You should at the very least read through the operating instructions first. I don't care if it's a gun, I don't care if it's a lawnmower, I don't care if it's a cordless power drill. You should probably read through the manual first.
And
What
by
you
the
got
way,
there, Phil?
the thing you and I were talking about right before we
Dummy
went
rounds.
on. So these are 12 gauge snap caps.
Mm-hmm.
I have dummy rounds for every single firearm in this home, and they are for a couple of reasons. First of all, for training.
Yep.
Second of all, so that I can practice the manual of arms with something that approximates real ammunition in the firearm before I take it out to the range. And in the case of 12 gauge, because one of the things I've had to make peace with a 12 gauge is like, the old adage of if you're not shooting, you should be moving, or you should be reloading, or you should be moving while reloading. Well, that's triply so when your magazine capacity is 7, 8, or 9 rounds.
Yeah, with a shotgun, if you're not doing anything else, you should be reloading.
Yes. So I literally, before I went to the range with this thing with that Beretta for the first time, I got 6 of these things, and I literally like 15 minutes a day for a couple of weeks. I just practiced loading, unloading, violin loading, over the top loading, from under the bottom reloading, over and over and over, so that my hands started figuring out where to index, how does this feel to come from this direction versus this direction. And like, it sounds dumb, but like teaching my body the mechanics of how to reload a shotgun when I never owned one before.
It's wildly different than a rifle or pistol, especially magazine fed. And it is miles different from a revolver reloading style.
And that is one of the very first things. Hey, babe, this is Rabalais watching now. But that is like one of the first things I recommend to new guys is I'm like, hey, whatever cartridge your firearm shoots, go find some snap caps. They are stupid cheap. You can get them on freaking Amazon.
Yep.
You can get them in
$6 to $10
stores.
usually.
Yeah.
Most gun stores. In fact, typically they'll have your 45, your 9, and your 12 gauge snap caps in the store. They'll probably be the aluminum ones with the little silicone tips in place of the primer. They're fine. They're perfectly acceptable to use. They don't mimic the weight of a loaded magazine and firearm, which is what the little bit more expensive ones do. Mm-hmm. So if you can't afford it, jump up to that. That's the second thing I recommend too, Phil, is well, the second thing I recommend is if you have a long gun, buy a sling. If you have a pistol, buy a holster.
Yeah.
And then snap caps.
I recommend the snap caps first, and I'll tell you why. Because to me, like, part and parcel to being able to operate a firearm is being able to operate it safely.
Yeah.
And it is really, depending on the manual of arms, depending on the firearm itself, it's very difficult to practice in a realistic way, loading and unloading a firearm without dummy rounds. Like, if you have a magazine fed weapon and you pull the slider, you pull the bolt back, most of them are going to lock open. So that right there, you can't, it becomes, I like to teach a person to, like, at the basics, load, unload, make ready, prepare to fire, do all those things in as most realistic a setting as humanly possible with dummy rounds. So that when you get out to the range, like, even before we get to the argument of like, you need a holster for a handgun, which you do, or you need a sling for a rifle, which you do, or you need field gear, which you do. But just to go out to a flat range and dick off with your buddies, you at least need to know how to safely load and unload the firearm, and that's easier to teach a person with dummy rounds than without.
That's true. And I think the reason why I go to holster and sling first is because if I'm helping a new person out, I'm probably bringing dummy rounds with me,
potentially. But I also tell a person, get the dummy rounds immediately for another reason. I have a really, really OCD habit, and I've always maintained it, and it is never once, I've never once run into this problem, but I want to function check a firearm after I'm done cleaning it and reassembling it.
That's
I want to
fair.
make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. I want to make sure it's drop safe. I understand that like the likelihood that you could assemble a firearm wrong enough to make it not function properly, but it still goes together, like that's a really narrow window.
It is, but it's
But
doable. It is
yeah,
doable. I've done it.
but I use dummy rounds to function check firearms.
That's fair. That's fair. So maybe I should move that up on my priority list for them.
I mean, there are no wrong answers here. It's to
Not
me,
really, but I mean,
if you have
when
a
you're
if you have a sports shooter or a flat range guy or somebody that's just shooting for fun, you need a holster, you need a sling is going to be a more difficult sell. Then you really should get some snap caps so that you can practice like loading and unloading and this and the other. And, they become an item on your workbench for after you do some work to the gun or you clean it so you can make sure it still functions correctly. And by the way, when someone else gets a new firearm, you can be like, hey, I've got some dummy rounds. I can pass them along to you. So it becomes the thing that like, you can use to bring somebody else into it.
sure. I've actually not found it hard to get people that are just getting into guns to buy a holster and buy a sling. I've actually found that the sling for the rifle is an easier sell than snap caps. Because if they've shot a rifle without it and then tried shooting a rifle with it, the difference in handling is actually very noticeable.
I don't know. I've had mixed experiences, and I find that it tends to be a lot with. I can't even really say it's like down to like the people that are like primarily shooting on a flat range because like I know people who in their head they're like, oh yeah, this is a home defense gun, but I don't need a sling or I don't need a holster because it's going to go out of the safe or out of the nightstand or out of the whatever.
Sure.
And I'm gonna do stuff with it, and I'm not gonna like put it in a holster because I'm not gonna need a holster. And like I understand that, but I don't.
I think it's a flawed argument because there's any time you're going to be doing if it's going to be a home defense gun, number one, it should be loaded. And number two, it should be secured away from prying hands of young children or incompetent adults. Which means you're probably going to have to do some administrative handling of a loaded gun, which is safer for handguns in a holster.
Yeah, Raggle just said shotguns are notorious for having issues due to improper assembly. And I will say that I said some things that I will probably have to answer for to my creator the first time I tried to reassemble my A300.
Oh yeah, me too. Everybody seems to have that same issue where they get that bolt locked up and it won't go to the rear.
Yeah, I mean, I did figure out what I was doing wrong and stopped aping it together like an idiot. But before that, I said some very unkind things.
Yeah, there was definitely some sweating happening there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I said some very ugly things about Beretta and the entire country of Italy and all Italians and whoever invented the shotgun. I had a moment.
It'll be fine. You'll get better.
Even in Alpha Charlie concepts. So,
and the other thing I tell people to do is go to the range, and when you go to the range to rent a range spot, tell the range safety officer, hey, I'm new. I've not shot this gun before. Can you walk me through it if you don't have a friend to take with you? They will drop whatever they're doing unless they're currently enforcing safety violations, which they shouldn't have to. And they will help you, show you how to safely manipulate the gun if they know how to. Or they'll find somebody in the gun shop that does know how to. Because they're there for your safety and to help everyone have a good time.
And I'll be the first to admit that, like, I've been on the firing line several times, and, like, you don't usually have to walk up and down that firing line too many times before you find somebody that has the firearm that in question or one very similar. Like,
right, or at the very least have shot one almost identical to it. I mean, the battery of arms of modern firearms are very common. The control locations may be slightly different, but a semi-automatic pistol's battery of arms is a semi-automatic pistol for the most part.
I'm laughing in CZ.
The manual of arms is almost identical to a CZ.
Double action, single actions.
Well, yeah, you can do double action, single action. But
in the world of striker-fired guns, dude, my CZs always get people looking cross-eyed.
Well, yeah, but it's still a DASA action. which has been used for many decades.
Nick, are you aware that there's like a whole generation and a half full of driving adults that don't know how to operate manual transmissions?
Oh, I am.
And how long has it been since manuals were like the de facto, you must know how to drive one to operate a vehicle?
20 years.
So, how long do you think it's going to be before striker fired handguns have so completely and totally overwhelmed the market that people look at these funny little things poking out the back of guns called hammers, are like, what's that?
I don't think they'll go away entirely. I don't. I think they will be more common on firearms than manual transmissions will be on cars as a percentage of use.
I hope so. So, the true cost of gun ownership.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I've had a version of this discussion multiple times where I've told somebody like there was for the longest time, and the minute I bring this up, somebody's going to spurn this back in action. But for the longest time, there was this running joke about, hey Phil, have you gotten that 338 Lapua yet? Because I have wanted a big boy rifle for a long time, a 338 or 50 BMG, and I have absolutely no need for one. I have no
Phil, have you heard of the glorious 460 Weatherby Magnum?
Yes, I have, but
I know where there is one for sale.
Hold up a second. just contain yourself.
Nope.
So I have no need for a big boy rifle. I do not need to shoot more than a couple hundred yards in my wildest fantasies. I really just want one so I can convert, I can convert money into noise. And just for the pure, erection creating effect of shooting a big freaking rifle. Because I like big freaking rifles and I like recoil. They just make me happy.
They do.
And every time somebody's like, dude, a 338 only costs this much. Or, if you want to get on a waiting list, Serbu friggin' sells the RN50 for I think it was like $1,800 last I checked.
Don't those have a habit of occasionally grenading?
So that's another discussion. I don't put that on
cheap and 50 cal.
I don't put that at the feet of the gun so much as I do the ammo, because when that ammo got tested afterwards, the ammo was wildly overpressured.
Was it? Okay. I did not hear that. I retract what I said then.
Bearing in mind that the way that gun is basically it's basically a threading breech block.
Yeah.
And you know how strong threading can be.
Extremely, if it's done correctly.
Okay. So
yeah.
What the manufacturer had stated was that he built this thing to yes, Jeff Jags coming to the rescue, only with improperly loaded slap rounds. So the ammunition that blew up that RN50 was wildly overpressure. And that'll
be a problem in any gun.
Yeah. But that being said, I want one. And I've had people tell me like, oh, well, you could get this or you could get this, or I know somebody that's selling one for this much. And I'm like, yes, however. Then I have to buy the freaking ammunition for it, or I have to buy the reloading components for it. And 338 bullets are not cheap. And 50 BMG.
You need a bigger reloading press too.
Well, for 338, I can do it with what I have.
Do you have a rock trucker?
Yes.
Okay, then you can do it with what you have.
but for 50 BMG, I would have to get a different press, because RCBS makes
50.
a press for the 50 BMG, or I would have to go buy surplus 50 BMG for like $3 a round. I would have to buy ammo, quite a bit of ammo, and there's absolutely nothing about owning a weapon that large that is practical or cheap.
And the scopes get really pricey with that kind of recoil.
Yeah. So buying the firearm is just like the first little drop in the bucket of what you're going to be in for. And that's what's held me back from buying those firearms for years. Mm-hmm. But that's all firearms, because the minute I got, like my CZP-09, the minute I got that thing, I think it was $600, give or take. Then it was, okay, the holster, which had to be custom manufactured because nobody made one exactly the way I wanted it with level 2 retention, that wound up being $140. The magazines for the stupid thing are like $35 a whack. The +2 base pads are like $8 a piece. The weapon light, the this, the that, things just add up. Like you wind up spending 50 to 100% the value of the firearm, even before we start talking about a lot of ammo.
Yep.
Like just a small complement of defensive ammunition, a handful of extra magazines, a holster, a couple of accoutrements, you are 50 to 100% the value of the firearm in support equipment. And then you want to
when
talk about
I bought the A300, it was over the cost of the firearm. Ammunition, sling, the shotgun cards that I keep some of on my desk here, the class that I immediately signed up for. Let's see. Yeah. I think it ended up like, I think out the door, I got a hell of a deal on that Beretta. It was just about 700, and I think I spent 850 between ammo, class, sling, and a few other accoutrements for it.
So I spent closer to $1,000 on mine, but then again, I didn't wait for a sale to do anything. I literally walked into my friend's gun store and said, "I'm here to contribute to your kid's college fund. I want one of those," and he had to order it for me. And when you have to special order a gun, you don't get a discount. Not even a friend, not even a we deployed together discount.
Oh, see, I occasionally do slide engraving for my FFL dealer prices.
Well, but that doesn't apply when you have to order a firearm. Then it's whatever. Well, no, it doesn't apply for me.
He only does orders. He's a kitchen table FFL.
Gotcha.
So,
but like I said, in this case, like I bought that A300 and I've spent well more than the cost of that firearm between the sling. I cheated on the light. I had the light left over from another build, but the sling, the optic mount, the optic, 3 cases of buckshot, 8 or 9 or 10 boxes of slugs,
breaching slugs.
Yeah, the breaching slugs.
If you're gonna have a 12 gauge, get some breaching slugs. Those are fun.
The 2 cases of birdshot.
Yep, for training.
Yeah,
and chokes. Training. I think you were getting chokes.
I did wind up getting just 1 extra choke, but yeah, I mean, I have easily spent the value of the gun and some more.
Yeah, I'm looking at spending the value of the gun again, probably next year, due to the joys of home ownership, in an optic, a light, and a mount system for both. Because I keep looking at the cheaper optics, and I'm just like, but is it really going to last? I don't know.
I mean, I'm rolling the dice on my Holosun, and we'll see.
I don't consider Holosun a cheap optic. I think to me it's a mid-range optic as far as price goes, especially for the reliability that Holosun has seemed to generate. I mean, it's now a battlefield tested optic.
True.
In multiple theaters. It seems to do okay, and that's probably more aggressive than I'm going to treat it.
I will say that 507 comp is like the perfect shotgun red dot, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, Raggle, I have heard of Swamp Fox, and I have considered them. I don't know. I'm not sold. I mean, go ahead.
I mean, I have a Swamp Fox on a 9mm. I would be a little leery about putting one on a 12 gauge.
I have called them and I have talked to them about it, and they said, "Why do you want to put it on a semi-auto 12 gauge?" And I said, "Because I want a red dot on my semi-auto 12 gauge." And the guy laughed and said, "Well, if you break it, your warranty covers it." So,
that's a vote of confidence.
They told me do it, and if I break it, they'll give me another one. And I'm like, well, if it breaks from shotgun recoil, I'm not going to want another one. But
no, right. But you could always get it,
stick it on something else.
Stick it on something else.
Yeah, I could always mill some of my slides on my striker fired pistols and start getting into the real boy game again. I'm still shooting irons on pistols. I love red dots on rifles, but I've never bothered to put a red dot on a pistol.
I gotta make that jump sooner or later.
I know from having shot other people's red dotted pistols that it works, and I'm sure with the right training I would be just as quick, but I'm just as accurate and just as fast with my iron sights as the guys are who are running dots. Now, these are not like top tier competition guys, but the guys that I shoot against in my shooting classes. I'm keeping up with them, and I don't have a problem with it. And my battery never goes dead because there's no fucking batteries in a True Glow sight.
The only real reason I want to put a red dot on any handgun more than anything else is just to try it. I mean, I am very happy with shooting iron sights. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would make that jump anytime soon with like a carry gun, but for something like my CZP09, which is more like a battle belt kind of gun, I mean, I'd
Sure.
like to try it.
You know, in my opinion, for an everyday carry gun, I think the red dot sights are durable enough now that you can count on them to survive.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can. I don't think there's an argument anymore about them being too fragile for everyday carry, assuming that you look at the gun, like throughout the week. Make sure that your battery's not dead. Make sure you haven't shattered the glass. Make sure you haven't busted the emitter or whatever. You're going to have to do a little additional maintenance with that.
Point of order, if it's a carry gun and you have a dot on it, I would say go and buy the gratuitously expensive Energizer Ultimate Lithiums.
Yep.
Not because they'll last longer, which they will, but because they will never, ever develop battery cancer and leak.
And for as much as those optics cost.
Well, I mean, I'm not so like in my matter of fact, this thing runs off of like whatever Streamlight branded batteries I buy. I buy in bulk. I got like 3 cases of the stupid things on this equipment shelf back here.
They're equivalent to the Energizer,
yeah,
I think.
But if I kill one of these things, like if it gets jacked up, corroded, I mean, you can tell from all the anodizing worn off this thing, this light has not been treated nicely. I've beat the crap out of this thing for years. And I've got another one sitting in the wall safe, just waiting for this one to die.
Best of luck.
Yes. But the only thing I will run in like my PBS 14 is Energizer Ultimate Lithiums. It's a $4,000 piece of equipment. It will cost me $4,000 to replace it. It would probably cost about $1,200 to $1,500 to have it serviced if something went wrong with it. I'm going to put the expensive batteries in it.
Yeah, there's a cost benefit analysis to be made there, and cutting corners on your batteries does, especially when you're into like a $4,000 piece of equipment. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and that's why I apply that same rationale to like your carry, if you have an optic on your carry gun, because like when that gun comes out of the holster in anger, it is the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
If you have to draw your gun on a living, breathing human being, it is officially the worst day of your life. I don't want the worst day of my life to be compounded when the dot doesn't come on because the stupid thing has exploded and puked battery acid all into the guts. Yeah. And there is no fixing this stupid thing. That is not worth trying to save half the money on a $4 battery.
Yeah, it's twice the cost, but it's $4.
Like, yeah, cost benefit.
Okay,
cost benefit analysis at a certain point. Dig in your couch cushions a little bit deeper and find the pennies and the quarters that buy the better battery. Quit being a nerd about it.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's one of the things you got to remember is just you're going to have additional costs when you get into a new gun.
Yeah. Raggle Fraggle saying, according to the interwebs, Beerus fast fire is good for shotguns. Also, the Vortex crossfire. I mean,
I have looked at both. I do like Vortex optics. I had a Vortex on my AR for a very long time. I have Vortexes on my 300 Win Mag and my Aught 6, and I have always been happy with their optics.
I haven't been disappointed, and I've had a lot of different brands of optics.
I know of a person who did shoot their Vortex scope and Vortex replaced it.
I actually, talk about blast from the past, I still have an old Bushnell TRS 25 sitting on an Ultimac on my AK.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like the granddad of optics on AKs, that's a very, very old setup, but it still works.
Raggle, if I already have one, throw it on and try it. What I have is a Vortex. I think it's the Spitfire prismatic. It's very large and much higher mounting than will work on a shotgun. because at the time I wasn't wearing glasses, but I had an astigmatism. So every red dot except for the prismatics would star flare like just absolute dog shit. I could not shoot with them. I could not use them, but I came upon the Vortex with the prismatic optic, and that was clutch because on or off, I could use that optic with the etched glass reticle, which is great for me. Now that I've got glasses that fix my astigmatism better, I don't get the starburst quite so much, so I could go to a traditional dot. I haven't bought one yet.
Or you do like me and you just use the center of the starburst as your aiming point. It works okay. It works okay. Listen,
okay. I
was 40 years old before I learned that
that's not supposed to do that.
Yes. It's the only set of eyes I've ever had, and
I agree.
Ever since I've been looking through red dots, I saw like the little starburst, and I just assumed that's what they're supposed to look like, and I learned over the years how to work with it. And then somebody finally told me like, "Yeah, man, you can tell if you get an astigmatism when you look at a red dot. It looks like that." I'm like, "You mean it's not supposed to?"
I figured it out when I was learning to drive that I had screwed up eyes because I asked my parents, like, how the hell does everybody drive with all the fucking bright light stars goddamn everywhere at night? And my dad said, they're not supposed to look like that. They just look like round dots. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Yeah. Thing that I just assumed was the way it was supposed to be.
Right. I was smart enough to ask.
Well, thanks, Nick.
No.
I was stubborn enough to try to persevere through it, I guess.
Exactly. I was just irritable.
All right. So rounding this out, next steps to advance your skills. This is, I guess, to me is a simple enough question. Like, training class, lots of practice, lots and lots and lots and lots of ammunition fired into berms, lots and lots of reps dry firing.
Alpha Charlie Concept says he gets multiple overlapping oval stars and he has to try to figure out which one's the real dot. Buddy, that sucks.
That's red dot.
That's rough.
That's red dot peekaboo right there.
Yeah, man. I understand why you only go prismatics. I have not found a prismatic that will fit on my shotgun yet. That's the right mounting height.
Yeah, that's like the one thing I came to realize about putting a red dot on my shotgun is that I cannot imagine shooting that thing with a chin weld. Like you gotta have your optic really smashed down on top of that receiver.
You definitely do. One thing that I don't see advocated for hugely for shooters that you're not quite a new shooter, you've done one of your training classes, maybe two.
Novice.
Yeah, novice shooter. Get into a competition. Get into a few competitions. And when you show up, well, first of all, find out what you're going to need to show up because it's going to be a little more gear. It's going to be a mandatory sling. It's going to be a mandatory holster. It's going to be extra mags, mag pouches, snacks, because snacks are always a good call, and a lot of water. Because the last thing you need is somebody getting heat stroke on the firing line. But tell the organizer, hey, I'm new. I've never been to a competition before. How does this work? How do I do this safely? They will be more than happy. They'll be over the moon to walk you through the whole process. And if the organizer isn't, maybe walk out of the competition because they're probably not the best place to be. I've not once had a competition organizer at the very least not say, okay, here's an experienced guy. We're going to pair you with him. He's going to walk you through everything. And honestly, I have gotten more good out of getting into competitions a little bit, not to try to win, but just to push myself and to push my speed and to push my capability than I got out of my initial couple classes. Because I had figured out the mechanics of shooting a gun on my own, pretty much. It wasn't that complicated, but getting into a competition, watching the people and how they move and how they reload and how they manipulate their gun helped me tremendously. And it introduced me to a better level of quality of instructors that you don't just find at your local gun store necessarily running the Saturday afternoon class kind of deal.
No, I mean, that's all fair advice. I would also say, and honestly, that this is not even just a novice or a beginner. This is an across the board thing. Like, I will be the first to say that when I was younger in shooting, I had absolutely no baked in incentive for dry fire training. Didn't see the utility in it, thought it was dumb, thought it was a waste of time. Go to the range, turn ammunition into noise, like that's how you get better. That was my thought process.
It's one
I
way too.
will and I feel like most people probably fall into that boat. That's I don't feel like that's a I don't feel like that's a an uncommon thing. But what I will say is that COVID completely and totally changed my mind about dry fire because very suddenly, because my favorite gun range was on public land and my state was run by an asshole at the time, I couldn't go shooting anymore for about a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I started dry fire training a lot. I did it for stress. I did it for the same reasons I went to the range. I did it for stress relief. I did it to keep my skills up. I did it to keep myself from, getting stale. And I just kept on pushing. And what I came to realize was that when I got beyond my initial preconception of like what dry fire training was, and I started practicing from the holster, I started doing it on a timer, I started doing different things. I put the money out there and invested in getting the Blackbeard and then the Blackbeard X, so I could run my ARs and run, like have a trigger reset and really be able to run some pretty intense drills in a dry fire setting with my AR. I got to the point where I was really and truly like pushing and building a skill set, and it wasn't costing me time to drive to the range, and it wasn't costing me ammo. It was right here in this office. It was these targets right here.
I would pay stupid amounts of money for one of those for my EDC gun, my M&P 2.0. I know I can get an airsoft analog that's very close, that's CO2 powered or green gas powered, and I've considered it for in the house training, but I've got a buddy that has a range that's not too far from here that I can go to shoot, or I can go to one of my local ranges. There's actually a couple around me, but
so remind me, I'm going to look and I'll send it to you if I find it. I know recently Mantis was making some noise about making some kind of a version of like the Blackbeard for Glocks. I know that's been a discussion point for them for years. I think I remember seeing something about it starting to come to market. I can't imagine M&Ps are going to be far behind.
Ooh, man, I would absolutely throw down the cash for that.
But
Absolutely.
I also know that I had a discussion with I don't know if you ever met him, Brian. We used to refer to him as Sasquatch because big old huge guy.
Nice.
I don't want to put his last name out on the show. It's been years.
Sure, yeah.
Been years since he's been, in the public eye doing podcasts and everything, but I've met him in person. But this was when the Mantis first kind of came out. He was running a Mantis on his Glock. He had a what was it? What brand was it? It was the magazine that would reset the striker on a Glock.
Oh, I'm not familiar, but that's cool.
So I don't know if they make something like that similar to the M&P. It would at least let him reset the trigger.
Sure.
And Mantis having adjustable sensitivity, he was able to get it to read that striker that hammer drop.
Huh.
Every now and then it would also read the striker reset, but it still gave him now it didn't do anything for like, the slide moving.
Sure, but that's more negligible than a proper trigger pull and proper biomechanical stance.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, to me there are ways like I'm not gonna lie. I spent a lot of time in here with my CZs, and I would literally do whole training sessions, double action every single shot.
That makes sense.
Is it a pain in the behind? Absolutely,
Sure.
it is. But guess what? I can shoot my CZ single action pretty respectably. Double action is a little trickier.
It is. But if you're going to carry a double single gun, or if you're going to rely on a double single gun, you need to practice on that double. Because I had a Beretta 92 for a while. Well, actually, it was an ATI clone of a Beretta 92. I think my dad has that now. I should see if he wants to sell that back to me.
Since I've gotten this Beretta shotgun, I've suddenly developed a want for a Beretta 92.
They're
Kind of
fun.
go the M16A2 I want to build. I don't know. I'm just getting nostalgic.
I kind of want to mod the Beretta 92 frame to throw a modern rail system on the bottom and then throw a red dot, some kind of red dot integral system in the top, just because I have to. I have to.
I just want it just like pre GWAT late Desert Storm.
Yeah, I mean they're great guns. They really are.
Yeah, but yes, Raggle dry fire was my stress ball, and I mean it's one of those things where like it's a good way to build your skills. I don't know that I'm going to ever argue it's like better or worse than a training class, or better or worse than a competition, or better or worse than going to the gun range, but I will happily argue that it works.
They accomplish the same things in different ways.
Yes.
And the more different ways you can train your muscle memory, the better you're going to be long term. All of the best shooters that I know of all advocate for dry fire training as well as live range training.
With the only caveat I will ever give about dry fire is like my personal method for dry fire is wherever the guns come from, the ammunition stays in that room. You go into a different room that is sterile, that has no live ammunition in it. And that is where you load your dummy rounds and you do all your training. And then the dummy rounds come out of the firearm. You go back into the room with the live ammo and you're reloaded in there and then put it away. And that's two reasons. First of all, is to make sure that live ammo never comes into the training area, because I don't want to have to fix drywall.
True. Or neighbors.
The neighbors, fuck them. Anyway. And the other thing is because I don't ever want dummy rounds to get into the damn home defense guns and then get put away in the safe with dummy rounds in it. That is not the proper way to use dummy rounds, is in a live fire exercise.
True. Although I will advocate for using dummy rounds on a training range for forced malfunction training.
Yes, but at 3 o'clock in the morning when you hear glass breaking, that is not
the time for forced malfunction training.
No, that is the time for things to work as expected and predicted with no interruptions. So that's my personal method. It makes sure that there's dummy rounds in the training area, there's live ammunition where the guns get stored. Those two realms never cross over. You don't mix and mingle, take things back and forth. It is extremely OCD. It is overkill. I admit it. I have never punched a hole in this drywall by accident. So it's working.
Dry fire training only becomes live training when you fuck up.
Yes.
So if you have no ammunition in the room, it's a lot harder to screw up. So set yourself up for success.
And listen, you don't want to wind up on Brandon Herrera's YouTube channel because you popped a round off while you were dry fire training. Yep. In front of a camera for your idiot friends. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that guy.
You do not want to be that guy.
I mean, if you become that guy,
I will laugh at you mercilessly.
I will ridicule you a fair bit.
Yeah, because it's entirely avoidable if you take basic precautions.
It is entirely avoidable. Raggle Fraggle, no cameras allowed. You can avoid the camera if you want, but bring a timer. Like the more stress you can introduce into your training regimen, the better. I mean, push yourself until things fall apart, and then you know how far you can push them.
You can actually get a pretty okay shot timer app on your phone for that sort of thing. They're not as good as the actual shot timers, but they're all right. And they only cost a couple bucks for the app. I don't think there's a free one that's any good, but there might be.
All right. Well, I guess we beat this one to death like I kind of figured we would.
Good.
It's been an hour and a half.
It was entertaining.
So, yeah, matter of fact, is 9 years old. God willing, it'll probably become 10 years old.
Oh, yeah.
KD5 PCK, bring my wife. She will increase your stress level. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Nope.
Because she lives close enough to me to come over here and deal with me individually and personally.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else to chuck in here?
Nothing on the top of mind.
No, I would just say that, if you are new to firearms, then maybe take some of this to heart, because we're trying to point you in the right direction. And if you find yourself being someone else's gun guy, just collect yourself, get yourself going in the right direction, and realize that we were all there and we all had to ask lots of stupid questions at one point before we figured out what we were doing.
And when you hit the limit of your knowledge, be honest with them.
When you hit the limit of your knowledge, please find them a resource to get them the rest of the way. And if you don't know, you should figure it out with them so you can both become educated. All right. I'll pitch this in right before we head out the door. Raggle Fraggle, I'll message you with a couple of show topics I want to toss out. By all means, to the patrons, y'all have the easiest way to get a hold of us humanly possible because you freaking nerds aggravate us constantly anyway. And for the rest of the listeners, there are ways to get in touch with us. I was about to say Signal, but that's for the patrons. You can message us through the website. Facebook group, although that's a horrible way to get a hold of us because I don't check that very often. There's Instagram.
I check Marketplace. So I'll see the notification.
Yeah. There's the contact section on the website. Instagram message is usually about the best way to get a hold of me these days.
Yeah.
All right. Well, matter of fact, it's going to go out the door. God knows what we're going to talk about next week. I didn't think we were talking about our birthday until I realized what day today was. So happy birthday to Matter of Facts, and see y'all next week.
Yep.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.